A huge weather pattern change will be coming to the United States over the next few days, and this is going to bring the return of milder weather to much of the United States, but we are eventually going to be seeing more shots of winter storms as we go into next week and as well as into February, and as well as colder weather. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about this weather pattern that'll be impacting the United States, and why it'll be very different from the ones we've been dealing with for the last 2 months. We'll begin with what's happening across the country today, and for the most part, we are drying out and we are clearing out all across the East Coast. There is no snow remaining for most of us. Overall, the big winter storm is done. Most of the snow at this point has melted over in the southeast. If you still have snow on the ground, it is going to melt either by the end of today or into tomorrow. And then back over in the northern plains, that is where our next shot of snow exists. This is actually going to be a little Alberta clipper that'll move across the Great Lakes as we go throughout the weekend. This will bring a little bit of light snow to areas in the Great Lakes in the northeast, but overall it will not be anything like the big winter storm we just saw a couple of days ago. And as I mentioned a moment ago, all of the snow here in the southeast is going to melt by the end of today, if not by tomorrow. There could still be a few areas that have a little bit of maybe a coating or up to maybe an inch on the ground still, but that would have to be in an area that is just completely shadowed off from the sun or on an elevated surface. Now, I usually don't talk about international stuff, but this is happening over in Europe right now. We have a bomb cyclone that is moving across Ireland and the United Kingdom, where the pressure has dropped down to as low as 938 millibars. This is actually what we just saw in the United States out of that winter storm that was along the Gulf Coast. So this is actually now moved into Europe and is now posing wind gusts as high as 100 miles per hour and as well as a lot of rainfall. Definitely interesting stuff here. Overall, just stay safe if you're back over in Ireland and as well as the United Kingdom. Now let's talk more about this huge weather pattern change that'll be coming to the United States over the next couple of weeks, and we'll begin with what's happening right now, and this is the jet stream. Notice how the winds are very strong aloft here over on the east coast of the United States. Overall, we are not really seeing much though at the surface. It's mostly just a little bit of cloud cover that is now moving offshore. And as we go into this weekend, we are going to be seeing a completely different weather pattern, something we really have not seen all January long, which is a zonal jet stream. What that means is that the winds are going west to east. There's no sorts of big dips in the jet stream, which would allow for Arctic air to come out of Canada. So this is going to build milder weather as we go into the weekend and eventually into early next week. Now, things do get more interesting though as we go into early next week. And it all begins with this low pressure system back over in California and as well as Nevada. This is actually going to be important because this will help prevent some of the wildfires, or at least relieve some of these areas back over in Southern California, as there will be moisture, which is going to lead to some showers. Unfortunately, thunderstorms are also possible, which could spark new fires. And then also there will be a chance for some snow in the higher elevations. This is going to be important though as it continues to track to the east later into next week. We do, at least I think, there is a good chance that this will be our next winter storm. And then eventually, as we go into Tuesday into Wednesday, things get interesting over in the Midwest and the Northeast, because we are going to have a storm system, at least one, that'll be moving across the Great Lakes in the Northeast Tuesday into Wednesday. This should bring some light to moderate snowfall to some areas, but there could be a rather more significant winter storm threat as we go into Wednesday into Thursday. It's going to depend on if both jet streams here, the subtropical and the polar jet stream, kind of collide here. This would basically increase the potential here for moisture and as well as the potential for some sort of large storm. And if that happens, we could see a winter storm back over in the Ohio Valley and Northeast. Keep in mind that this is around Wednesday, so it's about 5 days from now. There definitely could be some changes to the forecast, so make sure to subscribe to the channel and we'll keep you posted with the latest on details there. And then notice as we go into Thursday, that little trough that formed back over in California on Monday is not going to move very far, but it will start to speed up, I think, as we get closer to Friday and Saturday of next week. And I do think that this will at least pose the threat for a winter storm, and it might even pose a threat for severe weather, given the nature right now that the GFS model is showing that this could be a negatively tilted trough, which this will help to amplify the amount of spin in the atmosphere and pull a lot more moisture out of the Gulf. And eventually we could see some sort of severe weather setup as we go into the first couple of days of February. Now let's dive into the future radar and give you an idea of where we'll be watching for snow and as well as rain over the next couple of weeks. We'll begin with what's happening this weekend. This is what it looks like by late Saturday. We'll have a little bit of snow falling across the Rockies, a little bit of rain back over in California, and I'm very thankful that we are now seeing rain over in California after weeks of dry weather and as well as very windy weather that sparked dozens of different wildfires. And then also we'll be dealing with some light to moderate snow back over in the Great Lakes in the Northeast, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty snowy weather pattern back over in the Northeast even going into next week. This is by Monday. There will be some moisture that comes out of the Gulf, and it'll make things a little bit dreary here down over in the Southeast, with some showers and maybe even a little bit of snow in the higher elevations as we go into Monday. Notice as we go into Tuesday Tuesday morning, there could be a shot of some snow back over in the Great Lakes and northern New England, but I do want to point out that this is going to be more of a significant winter weather event back up in Canada, with a low pressure system, by the way, at 969 millibars. So that's actually a relatively strong storm as we go into Monday and into Tuesday. Eventually, as we go into late Tuesday into Wednesday, some showers and snow showers will be possible in the Northeast. This is where things do get a lot more interesting, I think. There is a low confidence right now that this will happen, but if both jet streams merge here, if we have the subtropical jet stream and the polar jet stream merge, we could actually see a large winter storm form back over into the Ohio Valley and the Northeast as we go into Wednesday. Now, I want to point out that the computer models have not been very consistent with this particular scenario happening, but it will be something to watch for. We actually had something a few weeks ago that was kind of like this on the computer models, and it ended up actually panning out. So we'll have to watch this and see if it actually happens. And this could again be a very significant winter storm if it actually does occur, but it's too early to tell whether it will actually happen. Eventually, as we go into early Thursday morning, that starts to move out of the Northeast, and then this right here will be the next area to watch for. And the reason why is because that trough that began over in California and Nevada this weekend will slowly move into the Four Corner states and then eventually transpire into a more significant storm, I think, as we go into Thursday and into Friday. And if I'm going to be honest, I do think the storm in the southern plains has a higher chance of forming than the thing I just showed you in the Northeast as we go into the middle and end of next week. The reason why is because we already have this trough back over near California as we go into Saturday into Sunday. It's already forecasted to happen. The only thing is it's going to be very slow moving. So by the time it gets to the Great Plains, there will be plenty of moisture coming out of the Gulf, and this is just going to lead, I think, to a big time storm as we go into Thursday and as well as into Friday. And notice how the GFS model does have this evolving into a bit of a rainmaker here along the Gulf Coast, and then also has the potential for snow and maybe some freezing rain and sleet in the central and southern plains. But again, it's too early to get into the specific details here of exactly where this storm is going to set up and exactly what impacts it'll bring, since it is still about a week out from now. But I am giving this about a 60% chance of forming in the Great Plains as we go into the later half of next week, if not into the weekend. And then eventually the GFS model has us moving into the Midwest and eventually into the Ohio Valley as we go into next weekend. But again, the exact details of where this goes, how intense it is, how large it is, all that sort of stuff is still uncertain. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and we'll keep you posted with the latest on this upcoming storm here in the United States. And just to show you some verification in terms of what I was just talking about, this is the Canadian model, which was very accurate when it came to the Gulf Coast winter storm. Notice how it doesn't really show much confidence in there being a big winter storm in the Northeast as we go into the middle of next week. And again, I'm already giving this kind of a low to medium confidence. Again, we would have to have the subtropical jet stream and as well as the polar jet stream merge. I think it's a very low chance of that even happening. And then beyond that, it does have, again, a pretty high confidence that we're going to see some sort of large storm here form back over in the Great Plains as we go into late next week and eventually into next weekend. So again, there is, I think, a pretty good confidence here that we are going to be talking about a winter storm by the first couple of days of February. Now, the temperatures are going to continue to be on a roller coaster for most of the country over the next week or two. However, there will be a bit more of an extended time frame here that begins Monday all the way through Thursday or Friday, where most of the lower 48 is around average. The only areas that really won't be will be back over in the Southwest, and then a sharper area of cold air will move through the Northeast as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday behind that shot of snow. That could also impact the Midwest and back into the Ohio Valley by Thursday. And then whenever that other storm forms, we will likely stay around average for the most part. It's this system that's going to be moving here across the Four Corner states and eventually into the Great Plains is coming from the Southwest, which actually means that it's not going to bring all that Arctic air out of Canada. However, what might bring Arctic air out of Canada is another strong low pressure system as we go into the following week. Again, this is going to be the second week of February. It's just too early to tell if this is going to happen. However, I do have confidence that we are going to have another Arctic blast sometime in the next 20 days or so. So stay tuned to the channel. Make sure to subscribe down below, and we'll keep you posted with the latest on this upcoming winter storm threat that may exist. Again, it's not 100% certain right now, but it's something we're watching. And then also if that other system forms back over in the Northeast as we go into Wednesday and as well as Thursday.